So that's 2 of 3 racing games covered, and then the last one, I believe, only you played, Dan. So
yeah, and as a result, I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time on it, even though I did really enjoy it. Don't know the familiarity level with Kirby Air Ride on this podcast, to be honest. The original.
I grew up with the first one.
Okay, so there is some familiarity there at least to work off of, because Kirby Air Riders is very similar, like very similar to the original. There's just been a few tweaks to like modernize it to make certain things more obvious, like that players leave behind star trails you can ride for more speed, and stuff like that has been made more visually apparent. But none of it has actually really changed. Like all the base mechanics are the same, with a few things stapled on, like every character has a special ability now that augments, like makes them go faster or makes combat better for them or whatever. There's a new city trial map and new racetracks, and some of the old racetracks are back as well in the air ride mode.
I thought it was all of the old ones.
In the air ride mode, all of them are back, but in the other modes, like City Trial does not have its old map, and Top Ride does not have any of the old racetracks. But air ride mode has all of the old ones.
Okay.
So it gives it quite a bit of variety in the air ride mode, at least. So I guess I'll start with Top Ride because it's the least interesting, but I think the most improved, because
that's the
Top
one that
Ride
looks like that one Mario Party 2 minigame where you're on the slot cars, right? And it's top down.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. It was just kind of like a cute little mode in the original. It's still kind of like that in this, but the new tracks, I think, paired with the fact that you actually get to use the air rides, the vehicles, because in the original, I think the most jarring thing in retrospect is that the vehicles you had in Top Ride were nothing like they were in City Trial or Air Ride, which made it feel even more disconnected from everything else. But in Top Ride now, the vehicles actually control like they do in the other modes, as in every vehicle controls wildly differently, which makes Top Ride something that I want to play more, because it's not just everybody has the same controls and it feels like a Mario Party minigame. The track design is able to blossom more when you can approach them differently. It's kind of like now you get like a bite-sized version of what Air Ride is, because the tracks last like a minute at most, usually. I feel like they could have had the old tracks back if they wanted to, but it doesn't really matter, because they're like, the new tracks we had are kind of just approximations of the old ones anyway. So those are fun. I think it is hilarious that there is an online ranked mode for Top Ride. As a result of every mode having an online ranked mode. It's just very, very funny to me to imagine Top Ride as like a competitive thing. It's kind of funny for me to imagine City Trial as a competitive thing, to be honest, because the way I enjoy it is not like that. I think what benefits it the most is for Air Ride, the normal racing mode, because there is a lot of fun tech in Air Ride that is easier to explore when there's an online mode. I think that's what I like most about Air Riders as a sequel, is that it was hard to play. I really, really love original Air Ride, but it's hard to play with other people these days because you just have to do it through NetPlay or whatever, or get somebody in your house on like a computer emulating it or whatever. Or God forbid you have an OG GameCube, I guess.
I do.
But now, if I want to play some Air Ride, I can just hop on and play online with people who are competent at the game at that, meaning that people who know the vehicles inside and out, how they work, what parts of the track are better for them to take, whether they should be in the air or not, because some vehicles are faster in the air, and who know how to ride star trails and stuff like that. So I get some like very competitive races out of these new tracks, which are all really, really good. I like how all of them are like, they're bigger, they're more visually explosive, and there are a lot more pathways that you can take on average. It kind of makes the old tracks stick out by comparison. Kind of makes me wish I just get the new ones when it rolls the roulette, but it is what it is. The old tracks are still fine. They were fine in the original. So the Air Ride mode, I think, not too much has really changed about how it works, disregarding like special abilities, which is mostly like, I know there's variants in how they work, but they're mostly just there to give you a speed boost. Where it all kind of explodes and where most people probably expected it to explode is in City Trial, where I feel like it's the main appeal of the game. That's what separates it from most other racers. And there were decisions made with City Trial that kind of puzzled me at first, like not having more maps, because I figured it just kind of was a no-brainer. Having seen the map they made with my own eyes, I kind of understand better why there's only one map, because that map can be wildly different depending on what version of it that it rolls. Sometimes you drop in and a mountain that was there previously is no longer there and it's been replaced by something else entirely, and other shit like that. which was also in the original map. It's just a little bit more subtle because that map didn't have as much going on. But it's more obvious here where like sometimes you go underground and the landscape has shifted. There's some items there that weren't there previously and shit like that. That is kind of cool. And overall, I think that it just works better with 16 players than with 4 players. Maybe not as intimate as the original was, where it was more of like a split screen experience, but it's way, way more chaotic because any given moment you are fighting somebody because there are 16 players now. So it's very rare that you're just alone, which means that combat is more of a priority now. So it's something that you have to think about a little bit more, like, oh shit, this guy's on my ass, and if I die, I'm about to lose all my abilities and my machine. So it's a lot more tense. There are new legendary machines that
there
one
are.
of them, yes.
I thought it was just the original 2.
Those 2 are still there. And it's more fun now because on the map is like a giant glowing symbol saying this fucker has the machine part, go kill him, which is really amusing because that puts a target on your ass as much as, you know, if you're hunting them down. It's fun. And having it so that like those 2 could be in play at once like the original, but now there's 2 other legendary machines that could also be at play all at the same time, which is fucking insane. One of them is the Leo, which is like a big lion. It's kind of like the combat focused legendary machine, I guess. It can like run around at high speed and it can do a hop jump, kind of like the wheel bikes do and the new Hop Star does in the game, where you like hop in the air and then smash onto the ground and do a lot of damage to people. I think they want it to be like the Hydra's the fastest star that can be used for combat if you ram into somebody, but that's not like its primary purpose. It's just to go really fast in drag races. And then the Dragoon was in the air one. I think Leo is kind of supposed to be a mix of both, a little bit more combat focused. And then the Gigantes, this is my favorite part of the video game. It's probably one of the reasons it's like one of my favorite games of last year. There's something called the Gigantes, where if you get it, you pilot the Gigantes, which is about a third the size of the entire map. You drop down onto the map, you can flatten buildings. If you run into people, they instantly die. And at the end of the round in Air Ride City Trial, you get forced into like a random minigame. It's changed a little bit in how it works where people now vote on it, but it's basically the same. It's the same kind of minigames. There's a few new ones, but if somebody gets the Gigantes, it forces the entire City Trial into a single minigame where everybody must now battle the Gigantes. So you become a boss fight that everybody must now kill, which is fucking rad. And it's my favorite thing about the game. It's really hard to get the Gigantes. I've seen it in matches where we had to kill it. It's really hard to kill the Gigantes, which makes it even more satisfying when you are able to overcome the challenge, because that thing can spin, and when it spins, because it's so giant, it's hard to avoid. It's a boss in the single player mode, but you have to like fly onto certain parts of its body and like destroy it piece by piece, making it so that every kind of machine has something that it can contribute to the battle. But that's like the biggest shakeup, I think, is the new legendary machines. There's a whole bunch of stuff I can say. I don't know if you are curious about anything in particular that's changed from the original.
Well, I ended up skipping on it. At first, I was kind of curious about it because, look at how much bigger and broader Mario Kart got in the Switch 2. Surely they're going to do the same thing with Kirby Air Ride. Like, I was imagining a huge open world for City Trial. And from what I can tell, it's just another Kirby Air Ride.
It basically is, yeah.
If they had made a Kirby Air Ride 2 in like 2005, this is essentially what it would have been, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like some slight mechanical improvements and stuff, some new stars, some refinements to the formula, but not like a huge overhaul. It's the Incredibles 2 of video game sequels, because that's basically what that was.
God. I thought we're supposed to try to sell people on the game. What the fuck?
I don't think I'd use that comp, but I mean, I guess.
Well, like I bring it up because, do you guys remember Stitch the movie?
I do remember that movie.
It was like a DVD sequel to Lilo and Stitch that sets up the
one
TV
that has
show.
Experiment, whatever.
The electricity one.
Yeah, I watched that. Yeah.
And when I saw Incredibles 2 in theaters, and I was watching it, and I'm like, this is like if they released Stitch the movie 14 years after Lilo and Stitch. It felt like the setup for an Incredibles TV show that just doesn't exist. Like all these years later, and it just feels like what would have come out in 2006. And that's kind of what I feel about Kirby Air Riders.
I mean, that basically is what it is, yeah.
after all this time, I was expecting something really big and explosive, especially since they finally got Sakurai back to make a Kirby game again. His last game was Kirby Air Ride 1. And usually, if Smash Bros. Ultimate is not a game that lacks scope. We'll just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I saw that, oh, it's just another Kirby Air Ride, which I guess fair enough, but that's because for me, City Trial was the big appeal of the first one. Like, we were talking about an era of gaming where everything felt bigger as a kid. And because this is before looking things up on the internet was my first instinct in games. So it felt like games were more magical and there could be something around every corner. And I kept playing City Trial for that. And I remember discovering that you could put together legendary machines for the first time and finding secret walls you could break down. And then there was the checkerboard achievement thing, which is apparently in this game too, that kept me coming back. And I just visualized an expanded City Trial in this. And then when I heard that it was not going to be that, I just kind of lost interest in this game. And, and you know, if it was like $40, maybe I could be convinced to pick it up. But the fact that it's full price and wasn't really what I was hoping for.
It is pretty expensive for what it is. Like, obviously, I'm going to pay it because I'm a freak. But, like,
yeah. And you're a big Kirby guy.
How it will appeal to the regular person. I didn't really think this game would have that much appeal to begin with to the regular person. I'm kind of surprised it exists still. Kind of feel like it was a dream game that Sakurai was just like, we're going to do this one for you specifically. Because it's just so bizarre to me that Sakurai even did this. It seemed like it was something he wanted to do, which is like, you know, fair enough. But like, that's just... Kirby Air Ride did not seem like that kind of... It just was a thing that happened in the GameCube that got a cult following, and then that was that. So it's just still kind of bizarre that it exists. I'm glad it exists, but yeah. It did add, I will say, it added a single player mode. There's a reason I haven't talked about it.
Okay, well, let's talk about that, because I am curious now that you brought it up.
So it's called Road Trip. It looked like it was going to be a roguelike mode, and it's not really a roguelike mode. So the premise is that you do what are essentially Smash Bros events. I don't know if you remember those, where like it's kind of like what World of Light is, in the sense that like you go in, like the old Smash games had like, what's an event from like Brawl or 4?
You have to, fight like Dark Link, and it's just a clone of Link who's dark or whatever.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to tell little stories in the match. And Air Riders has something similar where like they have a bunch of like stuff they pull from various Kirby games. Like there's one where you're doing a race against Meta Knight, Bandana Waddle Dee, and like you're supposed to kill them one by one, like Revenge of Meta Knight from Superstar. And that's one of the challenges that you do in this big road trip mode that has a bunch of branching paths, which is how you're supposed to like get replay value out of it. So you take a different path that has different challenges in it, different machines that you can unlock. And then there's an explosive finale, which I will say was pretty damn cool. It's just unfortunate that everything leading up to the explosive finale kind of sucks ass, in the sense that it's just really, really boring. And it has World of Light's problem. If you loved World of Light, boy, are you in for something great, because it's basically World of Light, but in Kirby Air Ride.
Do you get cool PNGs of my favorite Nintendo characters?
Yeah. Somehow even more annoying, too, because the way it works is that after every like milestone, you get stats, they are the patches from City Trial, the upgrade stats that you get. So as you go on, your stats will get better and better, which is really aggravating, because sometimes you will be thrown into a challenge, which is like a sample platter of things that you can do in the game, like a race or a City Trial match or a City Trial Stadium match that are flavored up to be like Kirby references. Sometimes you'll get thrown into a match like Target Flight or something, but you're like on a vehicle that can't fly. And in order to switch your vehicle, you have to lose the event, and then they give you the option to switch your vehicle.
Oh,
which is just really asinine. And on the highest difficulty, your checkpoint is not after every event. It is like halfway back. So you basically do 10 events in a row, and you get to choose from a set of 3 events along every one of those 10, so that you do 10 total. In the hardest difficulty, the only checkpoint you get is halfway through that 10 event gauntlet, which is extremely aggravating, because it means that you need to do 5 events in a row without being able to switch your vehicle, because if you lose at any point, you're brought back to the beginning. It's just really, I don't really know what they were cooking with this, gotta be honest. Like, there is a cool, like, I like the story that they tell in the sense that it kind of feels like a dream like fairy tale, which is fitting for Kirby in the sense that it tells a story of this thing that dropped from space with like a narrator who tells of like, can't remember this thing's name, but it's like the source of where the air ride machines come from, and for some reason all of the air ride machines are being drawn towards this force now that landed here thousands of years ago. It's got all the weird fucking Kirby lore that they have in modern Kirby games all of a sudden, where like Galactic Nova is like, for some reason Galactic Nova is not only back, he is like unambiguously evil, which is interesting.
Is it the same Nova though?
I don't know. It is
because there's another Nova in Planet Robobot that just sort of shows up.
But it's not. It looks exactly like Galactic Nova from Superstar. Is the thing. It's just a gigantic to scale version of Galactic Nova that is far, far more detailed and a little bit scary, to be honest.
But he's still got like the cat mouth.
Yes, like if you look up Galactic Nova Air Riders, it's just Superstar Galactic Nova, and there's nothing in the game that confirms or denies. I think it just like is supposed to be Galactic Nova from Superstar.
And he just sort of looms in the sky like the moon from Majora's Mask.
Yeah. And he's like shooting laser beams down, and he's like the final boss. He is the final boss. So he's just like the villain of the game for whatever reason. I don't know, because I don't know. That's a whole thing. I'm not going to dive into Kirby lore. I like the ending because it is really explosive. It's maybe the coolest thing I've seen Sakurai do since like Subspace. In regards to like fucking awesome, because you know all that cinematic flair got pumped into like character reveals in Ultimate. Feels like some of that flair, but like in the game now as like a explosive finale, which I appreciated. There's like a rival DDD ghost thing throughout the game that is cool, and that plays into part of why the finale is cool. There's a little bit of it that's like wanky. Don't know how else to describe it. Where like
ultra fan service wanky
in the sense that it ends in exactly an approximation of the Galactic Nova boss fight from Superstar kind of way. Wanky, where, you know, Sakurai made Superstar. He's playing to his strengths a little too much in the sense that he kind of just recreates the boss fight, but with air ride controls. Like the ship segment is you on the Leo in 3 different lanes it's like the exact same. You fight the hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like on a 3D giant scale now.
Okay.
So in that sense, I'm like a little bit like, you know, it's more than that, obviously, but he's clearly playing to the strengths of the games that he created. And it is a little bit like, I kind of wish he just, to be honest, I kind of wish he just made an original story. I don't even know why Galactic Nova's here, but it was flashy. I think they use the Hydra and the Dragoon in it in a way that's really cool and kind of builds off of an imagined mythos you could have had with the original game. But it is not worth slogging through a bunch of World of Light challenges that are varying degrees of difficulty. And most of the time, the difficulty feels born of you not having full control over your stats or what vehicle you can choose anyway. So it's just not something I'm eager to replay. And it's kind of why Air Riders is not my de facto favorite of the 3 racing games, and why it's a little bit more of a competition, because that mode just completely face planted for me. Which sucks, because now it means that Air Riders is just Air Ride 2, slightly better than Air Ride. And there's not a standout mode in the game that... What I wanted from an Air Ride sequel is 1 or 2 new modes that use Air Ride systems in a way that I've never seen before. And I don't really feel like I got that, unfortunately, which kind of sucks. Because I love Air Ride, and I love that there's a way I can play it online now, but... I was looking for something a little more ambitious, I guess. So
this has barely anything to do with anything, but I hate the Forgotten Land DDD design.
Do we? Yeah.
Where he's got like the fur coat and it's got like the puffs on it. Like when
he doesn't look like that in this game.
Oh, he doesn't? I thought they were using that design again.
Even though he looks like that in Return to Dreamland. I don't know what the hell's going on with DDD.
Yeah. Because when he first showed up in Forgotten Land, I thought it was like a parallel dimension, and that was like that universe's DDD. But turns out it's just DDD. He just looks like that now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll have to look up what he looks like in this game then.
But,
all right.
You know, despite that disappointment with it, it's still a great game, and I'm still happy with it. I'm kind of just, it's surreal that it exists. So
Alrighty, Rue. What other games do y'all gentlemen have left? Because I have, I think, 3. And one of them is one you guys are definitely going to talk about. One of them is one Dan and I have both played.
Let me open up my notepad real quick. Oh, okay. So let me see. We got the game of the year, of course. We got... We got you. Yes, we got... I'm just doing a quick count. Yes. And maybe... potentially 4 games, maybe.
Okay.
I got 4 games.
I probably have around that, but one of them is clearly shared between us.
Yes.
And then the rest, I don't know. I don't really have that much to say about games other than the big one. The big one that we all have played, and then one I know what Exo's talking about. I know that game that I also played. And then maybe there's one that I don't think either of you have played. That was one of the biggest releases of the year, actually.
I'll have you know I did play Rune Factory this year, so nerd.
Okay, so you weren't lying about that last session.
Yeah, no, I played Rune Factory.
Yeah, looking at my list, it's the big one. It's the one me and Exo played. The one that people were waiting like a decade for, basically, that I played. And then one more, maybe. And that's about it. So I got like 4. 2 of them shared between us.
I have the big one, which is... the one that I think we're all going to be talking about. Call it a hunch.
I probably just have to push it to another day entirely.
Yeah.
I think we're getting through that.
I got 2 that, one of which I know no one's played, or no one here has played. The other, I'm not really so sure.
Let's go do that one then.
And then I also have a port.
All right.
So
why don't we start with the one we haven't played then?
Oh, okay. So I guess I'm talking about Rune Factory. That's pretty cool. All right. Hey,
now, is this one of your Friends of Mineral Town tier games that technically exist but nobody's ever seen?
Here's the fun thing, okay? I don't know if you've noticed, but in 2024, and I also think in 2023, I did not play any boo-boo anime RPGs.
Damn.
I'm going to correct something. I actually played a boo-boo anime RPG this year, and that was Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. And I gotta say, it was pretty freaking sweet. I liked it a lot.
It was freaking sweet, Lois.
Do you guys know anything about Rune Factory? You guys know what it is?
I do.
It's one of those farming sim games, right?
3.
Yeah.
And also one on the Wii.
Oh, fuck. I
don't remember the name of.
Yeah. Frontier.
So I have some experience.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed them back then.
So, they're like, the farming sims, but with more RPG mechanics, more dungeon crawling.
Like dating stuff and like RPG stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've generally enjoyed the Rune Factory games. And maybe they're just a pinch shallow when it came to mechanics. But like, I have a thing for farming sim games. I think they're fun. Story of Seasons, Harvest Moon, whatever, Stardew Valley, Fields of Mystery. They're very fun games. They're my cozy games. So you got Rune Factory, which is like trying to do like a little bit more. And what I appreciate about this game is that it kind of takes a couple of pages from Dark Cloud in the sense where you're terraforming and like you're individually placing buildings in specific spots. And depending on where you put them, your villagers will have like certain reactions. You get more stuff that way. And you're essentially like the mayor of like 4 different regions, and each region is representative of a different season. So it's spring, autumn, summer, winter. So it's not like you have like a dead period, So the pacing of the game is probably the best that it's ever been. Mechanically, it's probably the deepest that it's ever been. There's more of a focus on its storytelling and its story presentation because like now it's like fully voice acted. And the voice acting is pretty decent. It's pretty tropey, but like it works. And it shows that like, hey, yeah, we're going to put our best foot forward. So it was refreshing in a way. It was easily the most ambitious. There's like some Sky Island exploration. Like you get to ride around on a dragon and look at Sky Islands to like find like hidden dungeons and stuff. That's pretty cool.
Where can I buy this game? You've just lit up my brain.
You can buy it on Steam. And the dragon also turns into a sheep at one point. Well, he turns into a sheep when you're on the earth, and then he turns to a dragon when you're in the sky. It's pretty cool. So, but yeah, I don't know.
Now, is this like an entirely new game?
Yeah.
Because I know one of the, like 5 was like a 3DS port, right?
4 was a 3DS port. 5 was like a new game, but it wasn't like the greatest thing ever. But this is like a huge step up from Rune Factory 5. Rune Factory 5 felt kind of like they were getting their feet wet, but this feels like a proper, like, big budget game. It's a little janky in some areas, sure, but like I was actually very surprised by this, and this is definitely like one of the better games that I played this year.
It's like 3D. Goddamn.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, wasn't picturing that because I guess the one on the Wii I played was 3D, but I was mostly thinking of a handheld one.
Mm-hmm. It's really good. I don't know. Like, I make jokes and I goof, and sometimes I recommend weird games that people aren't really going to play. This one I would say definitely check out if you like anything that I said. Like, if you're into farming games or if you're into, like, you know, cozier RPGs and stuff like that, check it out. This one was surprisingly good.
Does it have the waifus in it still?
Oh, it got waifu and habandos.
Oh, nice.
And that's another thing, too, is that, like, each of the characters that, like, you can romance, and even some of the ones that you don't romance, they all have, like, their own specific quest lines that you can go after without romancing them. So you can actually have friends in this game. It's not like, oh, hey, I gave you a gift. Suddenly I want to sleep with you. It's like, no.
Well, that's nice.
It's not like Gale and Baldur's Gate where you give them a boot, you know? So it's like you can actually have platonic relationships in this game, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's like fighting stuff? How does that feel?
It's pretty button mashy, and it's like the other games where there are like different, like you have like your light sword, you have your heavy sword and stuff like that. So that much hasn't changed, but you do get like these different treasures, I guess. Like one of them's like a little fan that can shoot out like wind projectiles and can also like make you run faster. There's another, which is like a flame sword, which is like a heavy sword, but you can also melt ice with it. There's an umbrella that lets you like float around, kind of like the paraglider from the Zelda games. So, yeah, and there's quite a few that you can unlock, too. I don't even think I've unlocked all of them. So, yeah.
Well, I'm interested. Might put it on my wish list or something.
Yeah. It's a little rough around the edges, but it's also airtight. So, check it out. It's fun.
Okay. Now, what's the other one that's not the big one?
Did anyone play the port of Xenoblade X?
Nope.
I bought it, and I have it installed, and it's the crippling thing of, like, I want to make a video on it one day, but I also want to play it on my couch, but if I play it on my couch, I'm not getting footage of the game. So it's a cycle of torment where I just have not started it.
It's the endless now.
Yeah.
I had a situation, and we won't have to talk about it for terribly long, but like I remember when this came out on the Wii U, I sunk a lot of time into this game. And I wanted them to port Xenoblade X to the Switch because I'm like, you know, I think a lot of people slept on that game, and they eventually did. And I said, thank God. I played it for like an hour, and I'm like, everything is killing me, and I'm having a very bad time. But then eventually, I was driving with my sister. My sister was playing a bunch of Xenoblade music. I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to play X again because the music in X is really good. I don't care what people say.
No, it's very good.
Oh, no.
It's got the goat on it. Hiroyuki Sawano's crazy good.
Isn't there like a hip-hop song that plays in New Los Angeles that Paul was making fun of all those years ago?
Listen,
there is.
Listen, it slaps. I don't give
Black Tar is a masterpiece, all right?
Yeah, we're stuck on a different planet, a lot more than we can manage, but we got to keep on standing. It's a great... No, I don't care what people say about the X soundtrack. Xenoblade X's music is like one of my favorite OSTs, period. I don't give a fuck. Point is, I played it again like a week ago, and I forgot that the game had sauce. I mean, music, yes, but also just like, I forgot how fun the battles actually were. You know, I'm not like super, super deep in right now. I'm like maybe 9 hours in, but like I'm literally just fucking around and killing giant monsters. It's fun. I don't know. People sleep on...
I really want to get to it.
They sleep on X. X is good. So
I did sleep on X because I could not get past whatever like it was trying to teach me with the nodes on the gamepad. And then as time progressed, wanted less and less to touch my Wii U, and then it just kind of...
Oh God, I thought you were going to say something else for a second.
Nah, less and less I wanted to touch my dick.
Oh, wiener is what I thought he was going to say. And then he said Wii U. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I will get to it eventually. It's just like I said, I also want to... It's not... I don't know. I want to just play it casually, but there's like almost this expectation that I write about it. I wrote about the other three, so why not?
Well, but I was
don't want to
shocked
sit
by
at my computer and play it to get footage, so I'm just locked in endless torment.
You know,
I don't know,
Michael got caught up on Xenoblade when 3 came out, so it sounds like he has some catching up to do.
Well, here's my thing, because I was vaguely curious about it, because I do have the Wii U version, but it's also one of those things where, like, even though it's not that hard, it is sort of a pain in the ass to set up the Wii U and play on it nowadays. So I was curious about this, but then I saw that even though this came out the same year as the Switch 2, there's just no Switch 2 version of this game at all, which really shocked me. I'd much rather play it on Switch 2, you know, But I
They
guess
did recently release a Switch 2 edition.
They did?
Did you hear about that?
I did not hear about this.
I'm surprised you didn't hear about this. Maybe that just goes under the radar because it's Xenoblade X. They released one, and it had a bunch of problems. And Nintendo issued refunds for it.
Oh, fuck, really?
Because it had so many problems.
Well, that's not
Hopefully
what I wanted to hear.
they're fixing those. But one does exist, and it hopefully will get fixed at some point. So
it's unusual for Nintendo to release something buggy. Like, I can't remember a time that's happened before.
What the hell happened with that? If Nintendo just wanted one out or something, because it's not really like, don't get me wrong, Xenoblade games are not flawless. There have been bugs in a few of them. 2 especially, I think, had a rough launch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does seem really weird at this point for them to have not only a Switch 2 edition that came so late after the game came out, but just at a random time, and also it's buggy and doesn't really work properly.
I remember ages ago when the Switch was still the prime console, that the director who directed the Xenoblade games, what's his name again?
Tetsuya Takahashi.
Okay, that he was asked about this, and he said that if they were to port X to the Switch, it would take a lot of resources and also cost a lot of money to actually do. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with just the engine that it runs on, or just the way how it was made.
Specifically, it was kind of an ordeal, even emulating the game to get 60 FPS to work. 'Cause it's one of those games that's 30 FPS was just what was in mind, and I think a lot of things were tied to it. So I think the Switch 2 edition has 60. I can't remember, actually. I'd have to look into that, but that wouldn't surprise me if it was an ordeal to make this. It does sound like Xenoblade X had a horrific pipeline.
I mean, it was developed for a console that was weaker than the Xbox 360 and also had the Wii U gamepad, Yeah. I mean, it was developed for a console that was weaker than the Xbox 360. So it's not even like a Wind Waker HD or Twilight Princess HD. It's this is a borderline open world RPG with mechanics upon mechanics and online components too. So I get it, but yeah, I didn't even hear about the Switch 2 version.
I'm surprised because it's the only time I've almost the only time I've ever seen Nintendo be yeah, we'll refund it.
Yeah.
Which is fucking crazy for Nintendo. But hopefully they'll fix it. I trust Monolith to fix it. I think just some stuff went wrong. I don't know what happened, but I trust them.
Yeah.
They've earned that.
Things, what's the giant sphere from Xenoblade Ragnarok? Yeah, it's buggier than Ragnarok.
The giant sphere?
Yeah, it's the end dungeon is the giant sphere. The 2 halves were constructed in the 2 worlds.
I was going to say, I don't think it's Ragnarok.
Yeah, it's there's nothing called Ragnarok.
I was just trying to remember what it was called. The place that looks like the Didax ship from Halo 4.
Yeah.
That's something I didn't mention when we talked about Metroid Prime 4, by the way, is that whole game feels like Halo 4.
Oh my god! Holy shit!
It does. It bears a striking amount of similarities. It does. Even I noticed that when I was playing. I was and maybe it's just because of the philosophy shift after a trilogy. I don't know. But there is also some
well, that game's also about being stranded on a planet and uncovering an ancient civilization.
More emphasis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a lot of similarities.
Because I was picking up a vibe when I was playing Prime 4, but I couldn't pin it down, and you just hit the nail on the head.
Well, it turns out, because I tweeted about this, because this game reminds me suspiciously of Halo 4, because unlike you guys, I actually like that game and have played it multiple times, so I picked up on things pretty quickly.
I didn't hate Halo 4.
Well,
multiplayer maybe, but I thought the campaign was okay.
Okay, but what I found out is that apparently there are some 343 artist alum who worked on it, and then suddenly it made sense. So apparently some of the people who made Halo 4 may have in fact worked on Metroid Prime 4.
I can't wait for Metroid Prime 5 Guardians.
You're saying it can get worse from here?
It could get worse.
Brother,
I believe it could get worse.
Brother, we're in 2026. Buckle up. This year fucking sucks, bro.
Well, there is one quickie game that I believe King and I both played that I'd like to just cross off, because there's not too much to say about it. They remade Pac Man World 2 this past year.
Dude, okay, but you know what's crazy? Is that they have Pac Man World 2 in Sonic Racing Cross Worlds.
So
they do.
Okay.
You could go,
That's
you
cool, I
race
guess.
around in the village. That's the only thing I know about Pac Man World 2.
Well, Pac Man World 2 is one of those games that I feel like everybody our age just had growing up, except for you, Ryan, I guess.
I do have it. I have it. I was looking at it because it was light up, but now it's dark. But I have it on my shelf. I do own it on GameCube.
Okay, the remake? Oh, no, the
No.
original. Okay.
GameCube.
Yeah. It was a multi-plat game that came out towards the start of that generation. And so I guess everybody just had it. I remember renting it from Hollywood Video, and then we ended up getting our own copy on GameCube. And it's one of those, it has some of the weirdest version differences of a game of that era I'm aware of, where like the rev roll rams make a different sound in all three versions, which is why it's higher pitched in the remake than it is on GameCube, because I think they use something closer to the PS2 sound. But Pac Man World 2 is like probably one of my favorite childhood platforming games on GameCube. And it's one of those things where I had no idea what Pac Man World 1 even was. And Pac Man World 3 came out when I was alive and just completely passed me by somehow. I just didn't know it was out until like several years later. And I probably would have gotten it too, because I wouldn't have known any better.
If it weren't for those meddling kids.
Yeah. Because like the first one had more visual variety, but it was closer to like a Crash Bandicoot. Not even really, but it's like one of those Super Mario 3D World type games where it's got a fixed camera and you move along a track and stuff. Whereas Pac-Man World 2 is more of like closer to free roaming, where the camera is more over the shoulder and you can move the camera wherever you want. You've got more room to explore and stuff. And it's just a really fun game, even though more and more as I revisit it over the years, it becomes rougher and rougher around the edges. So when Pac Man World 2 Re-Pac got announced, because like after the first one got remade, everybody was like, oh, are you going to remake the second one? Because that's the other one everybody likes. Nobody likes the third one because it wasn't even, from what Aster was telling me, it started development as like a Don Bluth project or something and then turned into a Pac Man World 3.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, I remember there's like leaked concept art from Don Bluth, and it's wild.
Yeah. Which is why it wasn't made by the same people who made the first two, and why it's so weird and different in terms of tone and gameplay. But yeah, so like I wasn't super excited for this remake or anything, but again, like I was saying earlier with Windswept, I was looking for something quick and easy to just pop in and play to relax with, and this kind of hit the spot. And personally, I have a feeling we may not agree on this, Dan, but personally, I thought it was pretty definitive as far as Pac Man World 2 goes. Because, like I said, the original Pac Man World 2, I love it and all, but there are some parts of it that feel like they weren't play tested very well. The slide or the ice physics or that fucking haunted boardwalk level where, especially if you're going for 100%, like there's some parts of that game that are like pulling teeth if you try to get everything. And they smoothed out all the rough edges in this remake, which I did do some browsing around on Reddit, and it seems that was a little controversial. People are calling it too easy compared to the original, which I suppose is true in some ways, but I didn't miss the original ice physics in this because I thought they were a pain in the ass. And one thing I liked is you still have to get like all the fruits and stuff to get 100% in the level, but you don't have to get all the pack dots now, and things save after you die. Because I was talking about that earlier with Windswept, how they had that compromise where you get the thing and survive long enough and you keep it forever. The original Pac Man World 2 was you have to grab everything and get to the checkpoint, and it was a pain in the ass, especially in some of those later levels. So I thought it was a lot better in terms of that. There are some weird changes they made to it, which we can get to. Like, they made some changes to the story, for one. Like, the overall premise is the same. There's, like, this tree in the center of town sealed by golden fruit, and there's an evil demon under it that gets released when the ghosts... Maybe it's because I've seen that opening cutscene so many times, and it's so iconic, but, like, the way that they redid it in this remake, like, things just don't match up with the music the way that they're supposed to.
I'm just gonna say it sucked. I don't, like... The opening of the original was one of my, this is weird to say, but as a kid, it was one of my favorite parts because it was kind of spooky when I was that young. Really left an impression, and I liked it. And, it's a small part of the game, but so it's not like a huge deal. But it did kind of like stick out as one of the first things that I saw playing this is like, they really kind of just remade the opening, but with none of the sauce.
Yeah. I know. And it's not like they couldn't have... I'm going to agree with you on that, but like it just feels like the timing of everything to the music is wrong, and the deliveries of the lines, I'm so used to them from the original that when you hear Matthew Mercer or whoever as Spooky, it just seems wrong when you hear the new reads. And it's not like it's bad on its own. It's just I have expectations built up from playing the original for so long. So that was kind of like the first note they start on. But from there, I thought it picked up. Another difference they have is instead of going to each area linearly, you go back to the village periodically and see things sort of improve, which I thought it's not a change they needed to make, but I thought it did improve the story for whatever it was worth, where you actually get to see like the impact of what Spooky's doing and undoing it as you bring the fruit back. And it's not like it really changes anything that much in terms of the gameplay, because you're still going to the same worlds in the same order and playing all the same levels. So they changed the bosses, which was controversial, which surprised me before I played it, because it seems like everybody agrees the bosses in Pac Man World 2 weren't that great in the first place. So I thought, oh, they're actually making entirely original boss fights for this game. That should be fun, right? And it seems like Aster hated them, the later ones. I don't know what you thought of them, Dan.
I did not like them. I'm just going to be honest.
And we could talk about why that is.
That does not mean that I loved the original boss fights either. I just think they're both kind of shit in their own ways.
I'm personally erring on the side of I liked the new bosses more, and I didn't really dislike them. The whale one kind of went on too long and had too many phases, where like at the end they added this Galactic Nova heart shooting sequence that came out of nowhere. And especially when you played the time trials, you could figure out like ways to beat them faster. That was kind of cool. Where like the bosses have that replay value of, oh, if you rev up the charge roll when Inky tries to hit you with the wing blade things, you can dodge the wing blades and then he'll be vulnerable to hitting him in the face. So like the bosses had some dimension to them where like if you were good and paid attention, you could beat them faster, which is kind of cool. So I thought they were preferable to the original. And I don't know,
it's
guess
like the way that like it does the thing. I'm thinking specifically of the Pinky, I think.
Which is probably the worst one.
And it's just like, I think conceptually, it's more interesting than obviously just having the same thing over and over again, which the original does, basically. It's more conceptually interesting than that. I think anytime a boss does a thing where you can't do anything for like a minute or two, it annoys the fucking shit out of me. It's just a sin that like I can very rarely get over. And it's a thing that I noticed with that fight. I'm trying to remember the other fights that it had. I remember the first fight where they remade like the frog, right?
Yeah.
Where like I was trying to do the time trial of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't quite understanding how I was supposed to get best time, because it felt like the things I was doing to shave off seconds and stop his cycles did not feel like they were intentional. Like when he spits his tongue out, I think there's a part where you can bounce on it and break it, but it like hurt me every time I did it. I don't know. It's been a while.
It's like he swings his tongue at you, and if you time it right, you can kick it.
Yeah.
And if you time it just slightly wrong, you do take damage.
I don't know. That boss was whatever. It was fine. I remember the Pinky one, and this may be part of the reason I stopped playing the game, is because after that is the lava world, right?
Yeah.
And then I stopped somewhere there. I don't think I got to the boss of that place. That world actually is where I started feeling like, I don't know. How do I explain this? This is something that I'm struggling with, because I recognize that they have eased the original's pain points in the sense that the things that were hard about the original were not necessarily because the levels were hard. It was a lot because the rev roll had a lot of variance.
Yeah.
The slopes were weird, and the ice physics, things were not like predictable. It was hard to replicate the things that you were doing while you were platforming, which made levels like where you're supposed to rev roll off the platforms in the lava that like fall. Mm-hmm. I know that level specifically was so much more straightforward in the remake, because they've changed it now to where things kind of work more like you would expect them to.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling with this because I recognize why they've done this. It kind of makes sense. But like at the same time, I have a fondness for the original, how hard it was because of stuff like that. That's like the identity of Pac Man World 2 for me, was how difficult it was and kind of still is for me. And even if it was derived from a strange place of the game just kind of being janky, it does kind of feel like there's something missing there for me when I play a game that doesn't have that. So it just kind of ended
I
up
can
that
kind of
I
see it.
lost interest, you know? Because I guess I realized that in the absence of that, it was just kind of a generic platformer for me, which stripped it of enough of its identity that, I don't know, I just didn't finish the remake.
Yeah,
So.
which is perhaps unfortunate because they did actually add some new stuff in it, which was surprising.
They added Sonic stuff from Sonic Generations.
Well, yeah, they have that DLC, but I was more talking about there's like a post-game campaign where after you beat the original,
hear about that, yeah.
Where after you beat the original final boss, you essentially go back in time to the time of Sir Pac-a-Lot from the prologue thing. It basically pulls classic time travel paradox kind of thing where it turns out Pac Man was Sir Pac-a-Lot the whole time. So his kids basically get sent back in time and are kidnapped by Spooky, and he has to beat him again in the past. So it was kind of neat, and they change up all of the areas. Like, some of the level design is the same, but basically the original first world that's just like a happy-go-lucky meadow turns into like a poisonous wasteland where there's like all the water is replaced by poisonous gunk, and the frog boss, which is inexplicably still there, a robot in the medieval times, it now spits poison at you and stuff. So they found ways to sort of take what was there and change it up in a way that was kind of interesting. And it's not like you replay everything from... It's maybe like 1 level per area plus a boss instead of 3 levels plus a boss. So it's better than nothing, you know, and it wasn't like amazing new content, but it was...
I actually watched my friend Liam Triforce play the final boss of that second campaign. And that was one of the most entertaining things I've watched someone try to do.
I actually didn't finish the second campaign, so I don't know what it's like.
That
as far as
boss looks hilarious. Like, I can't even really describe it. It's like really long, multi-phase, and also asks you to do some crazy rev roll bullshit that's like, that was very entertaining to watch.
But there is some of that in the first Spooky fight as well.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some people saying they thought that Spooky boss was hard or whatever, and I'm not an amazing god gamer, and I beat it in like 1 try, so I don't know. Maybe I just got lucky.
Maybe they were talking about the final boss.
Maybe they were.
I don't know.
It's possible.
Because that shit looked crazy. I didn't see the regular final boss, the like second final boss. I saw some of the levels he played as well. It's kind of blurry, but I saw like one in the Spooky area, the boardwalk. And I was like, that looks interesting. I don't know if it's interesting enough for me to want to finish the remake, but...
I know when we talked about the first Re-Pac years ago, we were talking about how the weird ways that they changed the story, which wasn't even a very good story to begin with, but it's like, why did they do it this way, where everybody speaks gibberish, and the original opening cutscene from Pac Man World 1, which is so iconic, is just not there anymore.
Yeah.
In this game, I thought the changes they made were more justified and actually kind of interesting, because in the original game, when you fight Spooky, you turn golden. And they sort of reworked that in this game where each of the bosses eventually absorb the golden fruit and become golden like that. And at first, Spooky has all the golden fruit powers, and then you take them from him and finish him off, if I recall correctly. So they reworked that in a way that was kind of interesting. And again, I liked coming back to the village periodically and seeing like the impact of your actions. And I absolutely loved having Martin Lawrence, or whatever his name was, coming back to voice Pac Man again from Pac Man World 3, because he is delightful and just an excellent Pac Man. Because supposedly the Japanese version of the original had voice acting, but the Western version just didn't. I guess they added it to the Japanese version, and that came out later. And I liked the performances and the overall tone they struck, where it feels kid-friendly, but it doesn't feel like Sonic Colors writing, you know, where it makes you feel like you're being talked down to or anything. You know, like if they have to change the story, this is at least a direction I can gel with. And I hope they bring Martin back again for whatever they do next with Pac-Man, because he's great. Oh, and they changed Wormwood, where like they got the guy who voiced Master Hand to voice Wormwood in this game, and he's doing like a Vincent Price by way of Dan Castellaneta kind of thing.
There's a character named Wormwood?
Yeah, it's like the Golden Fruit Tree's evil brother on Ghost Island. In the original game, he traps you in a labyrinth, and you have to escape.
That's fascinating.
But you beat him by just getting to him. Whereas in this version, there's actually a boss fight with Wormwood, and you periodically weaken him over the course of the thing, and he has some good back and forth with Pac-Man. So, like, yeah, I thought it was worth playing. If you've never played Pac Man World 2 before, I think you will have an easier time getting into this version of it because, like we've been saying, there's some design in the original that hasn't aged well. And to some extent, Dan, I totally get where you're coming from on that, where part of the charm of Pac Man World 2 in retrospect is the fact that it's a game that wouldn't be made the way it is today, and the remake kind of proves that. There's kind of a nostalgic value to going back and playing a game that isn't afraid to have kind of janky mechanics where you can kind of do cool things with them. Whereas like the rev roll isn't as fun to use, even though it's more consistent because like you can't do crazy trick shots with it anymore. Because that was like one of the weird things about it is the village segment where you have to try to get all the fruit and stuff, which you can't even do in this version until the very end of the game because not all the fruit spawn right away and it doesn't save if you leave. It is used to be able to do weird rev rolls off the telescope and land on other buildings, and you can't really do that anymore because the rev roll is so gimped. So to some extent, I do agree with you that something was lost, but there is a part of me that appreciates the not having to deal with bullshit like the haunted boardwalk being impossible to 100% because the way that the platforms fall is inconsistent from attempt to attempt. I guess you could say I'm more mixed on that. One thing I did not like, though, is that they completely took out the tokens, or rather they reworked it. In the original, how it worked is there's like a secret building that got broken during the ghost attack where the guy's like, oh, I need all of the tokens in the game to complete the repairs, Pac-Man. And for years, I'm like, oh, there's got to be something really cool in this house when you unlock it. I want to get all those tokens. And I didn't end up doing that until I was an adult. And then I got in, and it's just a concept art gallery.
Yeah.
But it was still like a side quest where like each level had unique instances of these tokens, and it made doing the 100% level gets you a bonus token, and beating the time trial gets you another token. And in this game, the tokens are just used on the gachapon machines to get like little capsules of figurines, and there are ways to grind more of them.
That shit freaked me out a little bit because as somebody who's been to Japan, it was like 1-to-1 what they look like in Japan.
Yeah.
Owned by Bandai Namco, and I was like, this is fucking crazy. This is like, get the children ready for the gachapon in real life. Like, it was like, what the fuck is this?
So I don't have a problem with like the gachapon in itself, but it's the fact that like it takes away from the full completion experience to that the tokens respawn or whatever, and I don't think you get them from the time trial anymore. That's just for the bragging rights, I guess. Or you get like the gold stopwatch for getting the good time. And some of those time trials were really demanding, surprisingly. I know, it's Pac-Man, it's fun. I would like to see the team who made this make a new Pac Man World game, like a real Pac Man World 3, or even
That's
take
where I'm at. Like, I hate how much is put into these kinds of remakes personally, because I'm like, I see all this stuff that they change, and I'm like, I'd really like to see you just make a new Pac Man World game. I understand why you aren't, because you probably, Bandai Namco is like, this will make more money. But it's just unfortunate to me.
Yeah, I am kind of sick of this whole, well, this IP has been buried for 20 years, so we'll remake a game and then see if it sells. Like, it's gotten so old. Can we just skip a step?
But they do these changes, like, oh, Pac-Man talks now, and make a bunch of story changes, and boss changes, and level design changes, and it's like,
why not just make a new game with that energy?
Just make a new game.
Yeah, I feel
at that rate. I don't know. I mean, it's clearly not for me. If it worked for somebody, then cool.
Yeah. But I personally would recommend, if you like platformers and for whatever reason you've never played PMW 2 before, maybe check it out. It's fun. Okay, so all I've got left is in the big one.
I have and the big one.
Yeah, I mean, I have, I guess.
Should we save these for another session then?
I think we could knock it all out in one more session.
Yeah.
If we were actually able to start it for Discord isn't shitting itself.